Welcome back to Monday Morning Motivation, where we reset, refocus, and start the week with a little more intention. I'm Gabby, and this is your space to get grounded and go after what you want out of life. If you are new here or returning back, welcome to Kicking It Real. They say on average, 70% of regular listeners to podcasts do not follow or subscribe to the show. So if you've ever been inspired, learned something, or been left with positivity from the show, please take a moment, hit the subscribe button so we can keep connecting and growing together. I cannot believe this is happening. I wanted to kind of just start at where this kind of idea came from of just wanting to give little tidbits of different types of knowledge, some stories, just sharing more things with you guys. And the more that I've been recording podcast episodes, the more I love it. I love having guests on, and I think it's so important. And I love just sharing my network with you. But at the same token, I also like to yap. And I have so many different things to talk about and to share. So I figured, why not just do some more little Monday morning motivational, kind of get us started on the right foot for the week, and just obviously a little shorter as well. So they're just little nuggets of different things so we can kind of just make this what we want it to be moving forward. So I wanted to talk about my most asked question is coming from dancers who do not live in New York City. Some of them do, but just what type of training to do because they want to become a Rockette. And while there is no right or wrong way to do it, I just figured I would share what I did and kind of my story behind that as quickly and efficiently as possible, and maybe some ways that you could implement some of it if it's applicable to where you live, or just maybe it will spark some ideas for things you can kind of do, like little toolkit of ways to kind of do that. So, just to take it back to the beginning, after college, I went to Western Michigan. I graduated a year early from college just because I wasn't getting what I needed, I guess. That really could be a whole separate episode from this. But I ended up moving back to Chicago, lived with my parents, and it wasn't until I call it my junior, senior year of college, but my last year, my third semester or third year, not semester, I kind of was like, okay, no, I want to do the Rockette thing. It was always a dream of mine, and I felt like I would be good at it, and people told me that they thought I would be good at it. I decided to go for that and kind of go all in, but I still feel like even at this point, I wasn't all in, all in. Like I was, but I wasn't. When I was back in Chicago, this is pre-COVID, just for your headspace. I was kind of in that fresh, eager, like, I want to do anything and I'm going to go to auditions and it's still good experience. And really any of the auditions and or gigs that I were to get from auditions in my head was just to pass the time and move to New York and become a Rockette. I knew I wanted to start teaching at Pure Barre. I actually didn't have Pure Barre in mind. I had barre in mind. There was a little local barre studio in Kalamazoo that I started going to in college and kind of loved it and loved the idea of motivating people, becoming a fitness instructor. Personally, don't do the best with young children. So I was like, okay, these are going to be adults. And I looked up different barre methods and there were Pure Barres all around. I went to my first class. It was also my audition class. Booked that job. Booked. I don't know if you say that in fitness world, but got that job. Went to training and was up and running right out of college. I was pretty proactive about that. I was emailing the 4 closest studios to me a month before I graduated because I wanted to set myself up. I wanted to start saving. I think I knew I wanted to live in New York, but I didn't have a really clear plan of that other than I needed to save money. And it was kind of in my head that I shouldn't go be like a server or anything. So fitness was still in that realm of things. How my contract worked, my boss paid for my training, which was more than $1,000 because we had to fly to Denver. She paid for the whole training, and I signed like an agreement of staying for a year and a half to pay off, I guess. I don't know the right word for that, but just pay off that cost that she had to put in and invest into me, which I was like, okay, great. We're going to be here. It's no big deal. It slowly kind of added on because I got trained in other formats. So it kind of kept getting extended, which was fine at the time, again, because I didn't have a real timeline. And I loved teaching at that studio. I love a Pure Barre. So it was cool for me. And I was just teaching a bunch of Pure Barre classes. I was teaching dance at night and I was able to make money doing that. And I felt like it left me the daytime to take dance classes, practice on my own, which we're going to get into, and have a little bit more just flexibility because it's not a typical 9 to 5 job. So that's going to be relevant later. But so what my training looked like dance wise, since I was in Chicago, and this is where a lot of you, if ideally you're in maybe a different dance hub that is not New York. I don't know your specific situation, but ideally you're somewhere where you can at least take some types of dance classes. So what I would do was take as much ballet as I could. And that's what the company was promoting ballet, tap, jazz, all the things. So I was in ballet as much as I could. And I definitely highly, highly recommend that. If you're like a little Trina, maybe not as important, it's still important to keep up with it. I would say I was a ballet dancer, maybe not a ballerina. I don't know if that paints a good picture in your head, but growing up over the summers, I would do like a lot of ballet intensives, but I never really like continued on with point work or any of that field. I think I'm one of the episodes in my episode with Tara, episode, what is it, like 5 or 6? I think it's 6, but we talk about our 1 point residency in college, and I was an understudy and it was terrible. And then I stopped taking point in college. I digress. I have good ballet technique, but not a ballerina. So it was good to keep up with that. And that was easy because there are good ballet classes in Chicago. I did my research and I quickly learned about myself that I was a good tapper. I tapped all the way my whole life until college because that wasn't a thing at my school. But I took from the same teacher essentially my whole life, which she's amazing and I love her. But tap is a really hard style to learn. Yes, it's sometimes kind of simple movements, like trying to dissect it a little bit, but just the way your brain has to work to pick up a tap combination is so different from everything else because it's just all the weight changes, right? So I realized that I had a hard time picking up tap combinations from other teachers that weren't my teacher because I was used to how she taught it. I was used to her style of choreo, the way she delivered things. So that was something I did a lot of like assessing of my strengths and weaknesses. And I tried to find tap classes because I try to just take from different people. I took classes that made me nervous. There's a couple tap companies in Chicago, so very intimidating, but I just would go in and I knew I was there for a purpose, right? Like even in ballet class, there were ballet beautiful ballerinas in class, but I wasn't there for that. I knew what my goal was and what that class was doing for me. So, which speaking of, I want to do a whole another episode on this. Maybe it will be next week's, but I digress. I knew what I needed to do. So I would take those classes. There were not I would say are not a lot of jazz classes in Chicago. I don't think there are in a lot of places, maybe other than New York, LA. I know Atlanta has some, but there aren't a ton of jazz classes and there were a lot of hip hop classes. So I got my butt back into hip hop. I was taking hip hop classes, you guys, like not good. But what I will tell you is, again, I was able to kind of dissect my strengths and weaknesses. And for me, I knew precision, you have to be strong. That's obvious. But for my weaknesses were dynamics and moving fast. So, like, what was going to help me with sharp dynamics, sharp movements was hip hop. So, I took hip hop classes because also it was just hard for me, right? When I was still learning how to pick up the style. So, I tried to put myself into dance classes that were going to challenge my choreography, picking up choreography skills. So I took hip hop classes. I really honestly had a fun time once I kind of got past that. And again, I went in knowing, hey, I'm not trying to be a hip hop dancer. So like when I would get the combination and I felt good about it and I discovered something new about how I move or how I pick up the choreography, I got super excited about it. I was like, okay, cool. Those are the things to think about as you're taking these classes that maybe are out of your comfort zone. I even took a contemporary class. It was another teacher, Jackie Nowicki, shout out. She taught, and I think still does, teach in Chicago. She went to Western as well, so I had been familiar with her. And her class is super, super challenging. Again, not my strong suit, but there was a lot of floor work. There's a lot of intricate little details, a lot of weight transfers. You're up, you're down, and physically super, super demanding. So I would take her class sometimes. I didn't love how I looked, maybe, but again, it was challenging my quick study. It was challenging my dynamics. It was challenging my brain. So I took that class and being grounded. I wasn't doing floor work on stage when I was dancing, but you get the gist of it. So I tried to find classes, ballet, tap, jazz, of course, but then just really assess yourself and think about what your weaknesses are, not to judge yourself, but just to use it as knowledge. And you have to do the things that are hard or you don't want to do because it's probably the things that you need to do. On top of dance classes, I did fly back and forth for random like workshops and things. You guys know all the resources. There's so many more precision style workshops out there that you can go to. I recommend trying all of them and seeing what is a good fit for you. But I would do that. And so then you would learn different combinations. I would look on YouTube and learn combinations from the show, teach myself, and I would practice those. I would rent a studio, go to my home studio, whatever the case was. Or when I was teaching dance, I could go to the studio. I would go to the studio early, which was a lot of the time the last thing that I wanted to do when I had to go teach 4 or 5 hours of dance. And remember, I said that's not my favorite thing. I love doing a private lesson, a master class, like all of those things, but teaching younger kids for the whole night, like that is not my cup of tea. That just takes a special type of human. So the last thing I wanted to do then was also go early and practice by myself in a studio because truthfully, it kind of sucks. Like the whole point of dancing is feeding off of energy around you and getting to watch other people and be inspired and learn. It gets boring. It kind of sucks, but you just kind of have to do it. I don't know. And for me, there were days where I was really tired or I really didn't want to, but even I would just tell myself, even if I only do whatever I'm going to do to practice for 15 minutes, it's showing up every single day. Maybe not every single day, but most days I'm showing up, I'm putting in the work and like just trusting that the reps would pay off. And it's also just honoring that commitment to yourself. So that's something I would do for that and then record myself because it sucks also in the beginning having to watch yourself. But there is so much information that you can assess as a human and look at your video. And again, I don't mean this in a way to point out your flaws, but if you want to grow, you have to be honest with yourself and don't be down on yourself and use it as a tool. Hey, I'm not hitting this line correctly, or I'm not getting to this position fast enough. So what do I need to do to work on that? So it's just kind of using those like critical thinking skills in that way. And lastly, in regards to practicing on my own, I've talked about this a lot on my social media, but just committing to kicking every day. Transparently, weekends, things happen, but at least Monday through Friday, 5 minutes a day. That was my commitment to myself. Was I perfect? No. But it does hold you accountable to remember, I didn't kick today. I'm definitely going to do it tomorrow. I would say 95% of the time, I would do at least 5 minutes. If that meant I was in my sneakers, in my basement, or in my backyard, I was doing it. Typically, it would end up, I would want to do it longer. But even if I didn't go to a studio every day, just putting on a song with good BPM, doing kicks, literally, I would do 32 kicks, rest, 32 kicks, rest. And just to get the stamina, get the muscle memory, because it just felt like something I could control, right? You're never going to know what combinations you're going to be asked to do, what the choreo is going to look like, but you're going to have to kick. And there's tons of resources on how to kick correctly and what they're looking for. So use them, practice, honor that commitment to yourself. My last little, I keep saying my last little thing, but I swear this is my last one. I promised these episodes wouldn't be too long. My last piece was the strength training. See, circling full circle back to Pure Barre because I ended up being in Chicago for a lot longer. I would take Pure Barre classes and I noticed right away how it affected my dancing because I was still taking dance classes, going to auditions just to practice that, flexing that muscle of auditioning for things. I noticed it immediately. I think there is a huge benefit to movement that is mind to muscle in that way because it not only is strengthening your body, but it's helping you understand how to control your body. So that doesn't have to be Pure Barre. Any type of body weight, Pilates inspired, barre inspired workouts where it's mainly your body weight, I think is so important to start to incorporate into your workouts. And then the last piece for me was adding going to the gym strength training, literally picking up the heavy weight, putting it down like full blown strength training. And this one specifically for precision is an absolute game changer, like insane game changer. I would notice if I took a couple weeks off from going to the gym because of whatever life, whatever it was, I felt it. I literally felt it. Again, I knew my weaknesses were dynamics and moving fast, and you have to be strong to do that. But maybe for you, you're working on your stamina and you're working on your flexibility. So maybe you would want to incorporate a yoga class, a cardio class, doing the Stairmaster. So just, I think, looking at yourself, a full body assessment. Again, there are so many resources out there that you can use. I'm happy to dive into anything a little bit deeper if you comment on the episode or you send me a DM. And it was kind of my whole thought on kind of starting these little Monday morning chats just to kind of get a little more specific about so many different topics that I'm very passionate about and bring you some positivity into your day. I was thinking about ending these with just little inspirational quotes for you to take on through your week. Maybe you didn't listen to this on Monday, but just for you to have for the rest of your day, the rest of your week. I'm going to leave you with, you are competing with people that are willing to be bad longer than you are. Good one, right? Let that sink in. You're competing with people that are willing to be bad longer than you are. We all started somewhere. You got this. I'm cheering you on. Make it a great week. If you're ready to take this energy into your week, send this to a friend and let's do it together. I will see you next Monday. Keep kicking it real.